So yeah, I'm Matt Twiss, as you can tell. First of all, apologies, I'm not going to be speaking in German today, but hopefully you'll learn a lot more from me if I'm speaking in English. So I'm responsible, as Christoph has said, for FlexStudios, so the Customer Experience Center for Mondi. So what I'm going to do today, in the next roughly sort of 20-25 minutes, is really to explain the context of Mondi. So a little bit about Mondi as an organization, because I guess some of you will probably admit that you haven't heard of us. Possible, yeah? That will give some context as to why... Come in. More than welcome. So alles gut? Yeah. So that will explain a little bit about the reason why we needed FlexStudios, our customer experience center. And I'll go into a little bit of detail on the process of where we started from. Also, a couple of contextual elements on what does success look like. So I'll build off a workshop that Björn held with the Mondi group. A little bit about what it looks like now, but I'll also leave some of that to Marco and Sebastian in terms of the content, and also Björn in terms of the look and feel of the center. And hopefully deliver a couple of top tips and does it actually work? The more important thing is you can spend a lot of time, energy, money, effort, but does it actually deliver what it is that you want it to deliver? So first of all, a little bit about Mondi. So Mondi it's a global organization. It's headquartered officially in the UK, but the main operational headquarters is Vienna, with about 800 people in the head office there. Don't worry about all of the text. I just want to pick out some key words which hopefully will explain why we needed FlexStudios. So part of what we do is partnering closely with our customers to develop tailored solutions from a packaging and materials perspective. And we do that by fostering innovation and driving sustainable growth. Again, complex slide, don't worry too much about it, but we have an innovation thrive. And within the Mondi way, which really describes our strategy in a few words, I'm going to pick out some words which are slightly highlighted in bold. So we make innovative, sustainable packaging and paper solutions. We partner with our customers. We're entrepreneurial, and we have an honest, open, transparent, and inclusive way of working. So those are core to us, and we wanted to reflect that also with our customers in a customer centricity way. Okay, so what is Mondi? So it's organized in 3 business units. The business unit I work in is flexible packaging. Underneath there, we've got various, I'll call them silos, that's a little bit negative, but we've got business segments, the 4 on the left. So craft paper, paper bags, consumer flexibles, and functional paper and films. And then we've got a couple of more central business unit functions. So the Customer Experience Center and the R&D group sits within the Growth and Sustainability group. It sits in the central function. So we work closely with the business segments. I'll come back to that. Just in numbers, the turnover of that part of the business is just under 4 billion euros. And what do we do? Well, we produce craft paper, so very strong and functional paper. We produce around 5.6 billion paper bags, not necessarily the smaller ones, but the bigger industrial packages, and we're the #1 globally for that. Consumer flexibles is really packaging in itself, so it's more the finished package which we then deliver to a filler. And then functional paper and films is one step back. That's really converting materials, whether they be polymer-based or paper-based, into a variety of different solutions, which then can be transformed into packaging. Yeah. So why is that important? Is because each one of those business segments is slightly different. So craft paper is delivering really a raw material, which then can go to FPF to be converted into an additional benefit that may have a coating on the side of it, or it may have a metallized film, or it may have a polymer-based layer, or a non-polymer-based layer, and then it can be converted into a consumer flexibles product or a paper bag. Yeah, so there's three elements of the supply chain. We're not just producing in one section, we've got customers within the Mondi supply chain. Okay, so we've got a unique portfolio. We don't just produce paper, we also produce polymer-based packaging, but we also have the benefit that we can combine both. Now, increasingly that becomes more difficult from a sustainability point of view, because the more you combine things together, the more difficult it is to separate them when you want to return them back for reuse. But it's possible. Our concept is that we have sustainable by design packaging and materials. We've got an innovative and fairly unique range. Most of our competitors are either in paper or they're in polymer and not both. And our mission is sustainable growth. So we've got a huge amount of knowledge in the organization, so we drive innovative solutions to our customers' challenges. We've got an integrated value chain, as you saw, so we've got customers within the group, but also the ability to go outside. Customer centricity is absolutely core. Lots of companies talk about being customer centric. I joined Mondi last year, so I've not been there for that long. It really is a customer centric organization. They do what they say they do, which isn't always the case. And flexibility, innovation, and sustainability is at the heart of everything that Mondi does. So why FlexStudios? So hopefully that context will now play back a little bit. You've got a little bit of an idea as to the ethos of the company, the background, why we do the things that we do. So why? Customer centricity, I've already mentioned it. There's an ever-increasing focus within the group, but also I think a need, given the current context that we live in, where lots of relationships become very transactional, and I'll come back to that as well, having that customer centricity where we truly try and understand what the customer wants, not what we want as an organization, is key. It's difficult, but it's key. Market demand, particularly from a sustainability point of view. So PPWR means packaging and packaging waste regulations. Huge issue for anyone who's in packaging. I think there's a couple who are. So that's now legislation. It's enacted. And that really means that there has to be change. So sustainability and green, and it's no longer just a nice thing to have, it's a must-have. So this now needs to be delivered. Yeah? And that's moved. 15 years ago, 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, green, yeah, that's great, as long as it's green for free. If it doesn't cost me anything, that's perfect, or if it's even cheaper, even better. But now there's actually a requirement to do something. Mondi wants to be a thought leader. We are recognized in our field for being a market leader, particularly from a sustainability point of view. We are material agnostic, which means paper's fine, so's plastic, yeah, or a combination of the two, and we use it when and where it's required. There's definitely a paperization trend, absolutely, but we can cope with that. We can also cope with monomaterial polymers, which again enable them to be recycled. Collaboration. So I've mentioned transactional before. Transactional business relationships for me are a thing of the past. Yeah, that is basically, you know, I have one of those, I'd like to buy 10 of them, and then the sales guy turns up and said, okay, I can sell you 10 of those and it's going to be 10 euros. The buyer said, no, I can only pay 8. You have a discussion, then the purchase order's raised, and then you deliver, and then you then send that invoice, and then you pay the invoice. And transactional, yeah? Transformational relationships are where you build a longer-term relationship built on cost, total cost, and the relationship, and you try and align strategy, you try and align the way that the companies operate together, try and have the same mentality, and try and find what each other's problems and challenges are. So that's the difference that I would see between a transactional relationship and a transformational one. We also had two reasons, internal reasons, why we needed to build FlexStudios. One, we wanted to break down these silos of the business segments and try and get to a position where when we approach a customer that we can sell the full range, or at least approach the full range. And the second one, the last one, was geographic. We were in the process of selling one of our locations that actually had the consumer flexibles R&D center housed in it. So what was the process? So it started way before I joined, so probably actually even earlier than summer 22, by basically saying we want to have some sort of center where we can get people together. We put together a multifunctional working group, super important. Don't just involve R&D or sales. You need to have the full range: finance, top management, operational people, technical account managers, whatever is in your organization, bring them together. We went to have a look at what other people were doing. Yeah. So we went to visit 4 different customer experience centers in parallel industries. So not necessarily in packaging, but in parallel industries. And then we put together a brief, which poor old Marco and Christoph received, and which basically said what we thought we wanted. Now, it'd be interesting to compare that brief, and I think you've talked about it a bit earlier. Does it match with what we got? Probably not, because the fact is we weren't necessarily really sure what we wanted at the time, and things evolve, clearly. We shortlisted partners based on the pitch, based on various workshops, based on the evaluation of the responses, but also we wanted companies that had experience. They delivered something already, and I think that's super important. That would be one of my, if you want to write something down that's worthwhile, find someone who has experience, find someone who's done it before. And then we agreed parameters, roles, responsibilities. So that was super important as well, to say, okay, well, you guys are responsible for that. We're responsible for this. Make sure we've got a stage gate process when we get to a certain point that we're checking that certain things have happened. If you don't get that right, that's when you end up with gaps and things don't happen and problems occur. And then we start the process. So if we knew what we know, what does that mean? That means we've probably had most of the content within the organization already, but we just didn't know where it was. Yeah? It's on people's laptops, it's on SharePoint, it's on the website, it's on wherever, it's on the person who left last week. So it was all over the organization. So we pulled everything together and then threw it at the FAO. Literally. Right? So that was really when the hard work started. So this is the slide I stole off you, Bjorn. That's fair. So what does success look like? Well, this for me is about engaging all stakeholders, right the way from the top of the organization all the way through, and again, multifunctional. We need to make sure that you keep on track. Limit creep. What that means is if you start heading off in a direction and it wasn't really what you were planning, make sure it's a good direction, and keep yourself focused. And every idea is a good idea, but sometimes you just need to park it. Yeah, leave it for version 2.0. And we've tried to do that. I'm probably the worst culprit at saying, no, I want it now. But try and park things. And then excite people within your organization. Yeah, build anticipation and desire, but do it at the right time. Not too early, not too late. You try and find that sweet spot of when you're ready to start bringing people in. And then invite. So one of the key things we did, I think, relatively successful is to train and immerse the customer-facing functions of Mondi to understand the center and understand the process. It's not just a location to visit. I've had plenty of sales guys call me, oh, Matt, can we come and visit? Well, what for? What do you want to come and visit for? Well, I just want to come and visit the customer experience center. But what for? There has to be a reason. So explaining that process, there is a reason, there's a logic, you need an outcome. What is it you're trying to achieve is extremely important, because if not, then your commercial functions, your technical account functions will be out in the marketplace talking to customers and then inviting them for something which isn't going to happen. So you set an expectation, and there's a risk that that doesn't happen. So on the post-its, it's not particularly easy to see, but some of the comments that were written, Bjorn, this was in 22, probably, nearly 3 years ago now. And the question was, if I remember rightly, it was, for me, the Customer Experience Center will be this, right? Give or take. So for me, the CEC will be a place where the experience makes an impact, small or big. It provides the best of the Mondi world. We inspire and show what we can do. We open the minds and plant an idea in a customer mind. Inspiration, relationships are tightened in a joint way and forward inspired. We engage our customers, we demonstrate our authenticity to our customers, and we create trust. So these were the joint views of this multifunctional team about what the customer experience center should look like. But, remember, let you read that one first. Big risk. Detail, detail does cloud the big picture, yeah? And Marco and Sebastian will talk about big pictures a little bit later in terms of content. Don't get lost in the detail. It's big risk. And perfection can kill progress. If you spend too much time trying to get it 100% right, yeah, then you won't get anywhere. So accept the fact that it might not be perfect, but you can work on it. Democracy has its place. Okay? I won't comment about what's happening on the other side of the Atlantic, but what I mean by that is at some point you need to make a decision and get on with it. Yeah, because you're taking counsel from lots of different functions and people, everyone's got an opinion. And all of those opinions are right, because it's an opinion, yeah? But at some point in time, you need to select something and move on. Yeah? The problem with democracy is sometimes you get the wrong answer. Yeah? Again, I won't mention the US. And the fact is, with the Customer Experience Center, it's alive. Yeah, it's not like a trade show. If you're not going to wherever, to Nuremberg or Munich and turn it up, and if it's not ready on Tuesday morning, well, it's not going to be ready. The fact is, this lives for 365 days a year. So you need to feed it, you need to maintain it, you need to monitor it, and at a certain point in time, you're going to need to redo it and renovate it. Yeah? Otherwise, it's just the bottom drawer. It just gets dusty and it's dirty and it's out of date. I'll come back to that. So what we've got is our mission as an organization, as FlexStudios, is that production environments, the supply chain, the market, consumer demands, legislation, politics, in their own way, can call upon producers to continually seek inspiration, innovation, and to advance beyond their different packaging solutions. So that's our sort of top.
ACAD 1084 disconnected.
Right, that's the problem, because that's exactly the next slide. Just give me 2 seconds. I'll just reset up.
Connecting to ACAD 1084.
It's not the one I wanted to connect to.
ACAD 1084 connected.
Yeah. Guys. Oh, no, I'm good. So, before we disconnect, I'm just going to go on to the next slide, hopefully. So this is Thomas Ott. So Thomas is our CEO of that business of flexible packaging, the 4 billion business unit, and he'll explain a bit about FlexStudios.
Are an important milestone for us in the development of actually integrating innovation with customer experience. We have created here a brand new facility, and actually we have divided it into 3 spaces. The first one is the Inspire space. This is actually where co-creation with customers is happening, where we are inviting customer groups and actually develop with them together new solutions for their packaging. We have another floor where actually we have pilot lines, we have machinery, where we are testing the new solutions, the new ideas. And we also have one floor which is actually in the labs, where we are testing what we have created together with these customers. So for us it is very important that we believe that innovation cannot happen somewhere in a small group. We need to have the customer input, we need to listen to the customer, what the customer really wants, and we also have to tell the customer this is what we are able to do. So for us, it is not only important to have the combination of experience center and labs and testing, it is also important for us that the customer can come here and actually we provide him with our broad portfolio. So is it paper? It's good for us. Is it plastic? Is it polymers? It's good for us. Is it anything in between? We need new ways of working together and we need new products. With the traditional way of making packaging, we will not achieve the sustainability targets, and neither will our customers. So that's the reason why we need these FlexStudios in order to create something new.
So as Thomas mentioned, and again, I'm not going to go through all the detail here, we've got 3 floors. So Inspire is the top floor, so that's our customer experience center. Innovate is the ground floor, so we've got pilot lines, pilot facilities where we can replicate processes that we see in plants. And Advance is the middle floor, the first floor, where we have a laboratory, so we can test incoming materials before we apply them in the pilot facility, or we take product produced in the pilot facility and then analyze it and test it. That's super important. It's not just a nice meeting environment where we can engage with customers. It's also got a purpose. So we can sit on the second floor, ideate, create something, go down onto the ground floor, run something in the pilot facility, and then analyze it, and then complete the circuit again, depending on where we are in the process. Okay, we're getting close to the end. A few tips. So collaboration is the name of the game, right the way from the start. So collaborate with your colleagues when you're thinking about what it is you want in order to create the brief. Once you've found partners, collaborate with them fully. Be open, be honest. Make sure the rules of engagement are fully clear. As I've mentioned, it's alive. But once you've got content, make sure that you instill ownership and responsibility across your organization. You can't have 1 or 2 people owning all of that content. So if you've got a sustainability manager, they should have the sustainability content. If you've got a product range, then that could be sat with a marketing product manager, or it could be sat with R&D. But make sure you've got people who are responsible to maintain that content. Key. Use the environment. So Björn will probably explain this much better than me, but don't just sit. Yeah? Move around. Create an environment where you can be active in that. Don't just sit around a conference room table. Conference room tables are fine, but they're everywhere. Create something different. Develop a process from A to Z, so that really means from the first point of contact with a customer to the bit once you've waved them off and follow up, but don't be too rigid. Make sure it's a flexible process. Create a brand. So FlexStudios is a brand, a sub-brand of Mondi. That's important because it creates some sort of ownership. And then also remind customers. So we always give this book, which isn't just a notebook, but it's also got content that you find in the center in the first few pages and some helpful elements of content. That gives the customer something to take away, which is useful, but also allows them to transpose themselves back again. Be transformational, not transactional, I've mentioned that. And customers are your best advocate. So does it actually work? So that was the grand opening last November, where we officially opened the center. And this is a selection of images of various customer visits that we've had. I haven't put the customer name to protect the innocent, but these are real quotations from each of the customers. So I'll slowly flick through those. And that was a buyer who said that there, so take that one. So that's it. So thank you.